Welcome to Iron Strengthens Iron. I am Michael E. Hattaway. This is where ancient wisdom meets practical psychology and where men come to do the work, not just talk about it. Let me start with a confession, brother, because I think you already know this one in your own bones. There is a version of us that can do everything right on paper and still go to bed feeling like we lost. We hit the gym. We showed up for the family. We prayed. We worked. We kept our word. And then we pick up the phone before we sleep, and we watch another man's boat, another man's numbers, another man's marriage that looks flawless in a 15-second clip, and something in our chest just sinks. We had a good day. We just measured it against the wrong ruler. That is the trap I want to sit with you on today. The comparison trap, envy. And I do not mean the cartoon version where you hate a man and want him to fail. I mean the quiet one, like the one that runs in the background all day like an app you forgot you opened, draining your battery, and you cannot figure out why you feel so tired and so behind when your life, by your own count, is actually in order. Here is the first thing to name plainly. When you compare, you are running on a borrowed scorecard. You did not write it. Somebody handed it to you. Maybe it was your father. Maybe it was a coach. Maybe it was an algorithm that learned exactly which images make your thumb stop scrolling. And that scorecard has categories on it that you never actually chose. Net worth, followers, a certain kind of wife, a certain kind of truck, a certain kind of body at a certain age. And you have been grading your one and only life against a rubric written by strangers who do not love you and will not carry your coffin. A man can win every category on a scorecard he never agreed to and still lose his whole life because he was answering a question nobody who mattered was even asking. Now trace the cause with me because I do not want you to just feel bad about this. I want you to see the mechanics of it. The reason comparison guts us is that we do it dishonestly and we do not even notice. Here is the con. You compare your whole unedited life to another man's best page. You know everything about you. You know the 3 a.m. thoughts, the argument you lost your temper in, the debt, the doubt, the way you talk to your kid on a bad Tuesday. You have read your entire book, every ugly draft, every crossed out chapter. And then you look at him and you see one page, his best one, the one he chose to show. The launch, not the 4 failures before it. The vacation, not the fight in the car on the way to the airport. You are holding your bloopers up against his highlight reel and calling it a fair fight. It was never a fair fight. It was rigged from the first frame, and you were the one who rigged it against yourself. I knew a man, good man, hard worker, who spent 2 years convinced an old buddy of his had it all figured out. The house, the business, the easy confidence online. He measured himself against that man every single week and came up short every single time. And then that buddy called him one night, quietly, and told him the truth. The business was underwater, the marriage was a shell, the confidence was a costume he put on for the camera because the camera was the only place his life still looked like the plan. My friend had been envying a drowning man because the man was smiling in the photo. Let that land. You do not know what you are looking at. You never do. So let me hand you a reframe that changed how I carry this, and it connects straight to the A.L.I.V.E pillar of awareness, which is simply seeing your own drift honestly before it costs you. Here it is. Envy is not a sin to be ashamed of first. It is information. It is data. That flash of resentment when you see another man's thing, that is a signal, and the signal is pointing at something you actually value and have been neglecting. When you feel the sting, do not moralize it and do not wallow in it. Read it. If you envy his discipline, you value discipline, and you have been slacking. If you envy his marriage, you value connection, and you have gone cold at home. If you envy his freedom, you value freedom, and you have caged yourself for a paycheck you resent. This is information, not a verdict. The envy is a compass needle. Stop hating the needle. Read where it points, and then go do a rep in that direction. That is awareness doing its real job. Not beating yourself up, just seeing straight. Now, the Stoics were clear on this, and clearer than most of what passes for wisdom now. Epictetus opens his whole teaching with one blade of a distinction. Some things are in our control, and some things are not. Our own actions, our own effort, our own judgment, our own next rep, that is ours. Another man's outcomes, another man's applause, another man's highlight reel, that is not ours and never will be. And here is where men break themselves. They stake their peace on the column they do not control. They tie their worth to how they stack up, which means they have handed the keys to their own soul to a stranger's timeline. Epictetus would say, you are a free man the moment you pull your attention back to your own lane and off the scoreboard you cannot touch. That is not resignation. That is the only real power a man has. Because here is the truth about your life, brother. You are running a private race and no one is standing at your finish line clapping. Nobody is going to hand you a medal for the phone call you made to your dad you did not want to make. Nobody films the morning you got up and trained when your body said no and your heart said, what is the point? The reps that actually build a man are the ones with no audience. And if you can only run when someone is watching, when someone is measuring, when there is applause on the line, then you are not building a life. You are performing one. And a performance ends the second the crowd goes home. Formation does not need a crowd. Motivation is a feeling. Formation is a practice. And a practice does not care who is watching. Which brings me to the word I want you to carry out of here. Sufficiency, not settling, not giving up on more. Sufficiency is the quiet knowledge that your own reps, run honestly in your own lane, are enough to build a life worth respecting, whether or not it ever outscores the man next to you. The goal was never to beat him. You do not even know what game he is really playing. The goal is to run your own reps in your own lane on a scorecard you actually chose. That is a full life. That is a free man. So let me paint the end state because I never want to leave you with just a feeling. This is not about becoming a man who never feels the sting of envy. That man does not exist. And if he told you he does, he is selling something. The posture I want for you is not perfection. It is this. You feel the comparison rise, you catch it, and you come home to your own lane without a 3-hour story about why you are behind. Catch and redirect, return without a story. That is the posture. Not a man who never drifts, but a man who notices the drift fast and steers back before it steals his whole afternoon. Here is your action mandate, and it is dead simple. I call it the run your own race catch. For the next 7 days, once a day, when you feel that pull of comparison, you do 2 moves and only 2. 1, you name it out loud or on paper. Just name the one comparison. I am envying his numbers. That is it. Do not narrate the whole tragedy. Name it. 2, you return to your next rep, the next real thing in front of you. The call, the set, the page, the walk. You name one comparison and you return to 1 rep. That is the whole practice. 30 seconds, once a day. You are training the catch, and the catch is the muscle that sets you free. If you want a straight, honest read on where you actually stand as a man right now, no highlight reel, just the truth, the free Brotherhood readiness assessment is waiting for you. Step through the door at door.iron-strengthens.in. It takes a few minutes and it tells you no comfortable lies. Your action step for today. Run the catch once, name 1 comparison, return to 1 rep. And your reflection question, sit with this one. If you burned every scorecard a stranger handed you and kept only the one you would actually choose, which reps would you be proud to run tomorrow morning with no one watching at all? Until next time, stand firm, think clearly, and stay engaged. As iron strengthens iron, one man strengthens another.